Carlo Ancelotti has already made his debut and managed 2 matches as head coach of the Brazil national team. So let's take a detailed look at how Brazil plays under Carlo Ancelotti. Brazil lines up in a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 formation with a midfield triangle. In the build-up phase, the team mostly prefers short passing, circulating the ball among the defenders to destabilize the opponent's pressing block. They often build through the flanks, combining between the fullback and the inside midfielder, followed by either a switch into the center or a deep run. More frequently, Brazil uses the right flank, where the right back can deliver a one-touch pass straight to the striker, positioned between the lines. In the attacking development phase, there is a notable pattern of positional rotations between the right inside midfielder and the right back. Quite often, the central midfielder drops into the right back zone, while the right back pushes higher up and may occupy either a wide or a half-space position. The position of the right back often depends on his partner on the flank. For instance, when Raphinha plays as the right winger, right back Vanderson tends to take up a half-space role, leaving the width to Raphinha. When playing with a clear target man, like Richarlison in the match against Ecuador, Brazil utilized long balls. Richarlison performs quite well in aerial duels and usually attempts to direct the ball into depth immediately for a winger making a run behind. Brazilian wingers also drop deeper during build-up phase, acting similarly to fullbacks by combining with the inside midfielder before attacking depth. In the middle third, Brazil transitions from their initial 4-3-3 shape into a 3-2-5 structure. A back three holds the defensive line, while the right back pushes high and takes up an advanced position. 2 central midfielders operate just ahead of the defensive line, providing options for combination play and aiding in the progression of the attack. Up front, 5 players stretch across the attacking channels, occupying the width, both half spaces, and the central striker zone. Richarlison, as the central striker, brings variety to Brazil's attack. He positions well between the lines and links up play, although some of his link-up attempts result in losing possession due to his inconsistent first touch. However, in the match against Paraguay, where Richarlison was absent, Brazil lacked those connections between the lines. Brazil has several vertical players. One such player is Matheus Cunha, who frequently makes deep runs into the half spaces and provides verticality in attack. Of course, the squad features many standout individuals, including Vinícius, Júnior, who is capable of creating chances both for himself and his teammates. In quick attacking transitions, few players attack the finishing zones, usually just 1 or 2 players arriving at the far post. After a deep run from one player, the rest of the team often fails to fill the box quickly, a recurring issue even seen during Ancelotti's time at Real Madrid. Still, individual brilliance remains a strength. For example, against Paraguay, Martinelli created several chances from the left wing. Against low blocks, Brazil does a better job of filling the box, with at least 4 players attacking finishing zones. 1 near the far post, 1 around the 6-yard box, 1 preparing for a late run into the far post, and 1 or 2 players staying ready for second balls outside the box. It's also worth noting that most of Brazil's crosses are targeted toward the far post, from which they've created several scoring chances. Brazil is very effective in transitional phases. At least 3 players are ready to sprint forward immediately after regaining possession and attack depth at full speed. These quick transitions often lead to chances. Now let's analyze Brazil's defensive setup. Brazil presses high up the pitch in a 4-2-3-1 shape. The central striker plays a key role in directing the press toward one flank, where his teammates close in and force the opponent into mistakes or long clearances. One of Brazil's pressing triggers is a backward pass by the opponent. Up to 4 players can aggressively press after such a pass, especially in midfield. However, this pressing often lacks coordination. Sometimes only 1 or 2 players press actively, leaving passing options open for the opposition. Sometimes aggression and speed alone aren't enough. A technically composed opponent can bypass the press and leave up to 3 Brazilian players behind the ball. Here's another example. After a back pass by the opponent, 2 Brazilian players press, but the right winger doesn't react at all, allowing the Ecuadorian player to receive the ball freely on the wing. Brazil does try to apply instant pressure after losing the ball. In a mid-block, Brazil defends in a 4-1-4-1 shape. When the team recognizes numerical equality, they may launch a press, and in some cases, this has led to effective ball recovery and even chance creation. One major defensive issue is Vinícius Júnior's high position when playing as the left winger. Since he doesn't track back consistently, opponents often create 2 versus 1 overloads on that flank. During long ball situations, Brazil's players don't always win second balls and can be caught too far from the duel zone. A particularly interesting element is how Brazil's 3 central midfielders defend in a low block, each with a specific role. The inside midfielder nearest the ball side covers the half space and helps the fullback. The holding midfielder often drops into the defensive line and primarily focuses on tracking runs toward the near post. The far side inside midfielder controls the edge of the box and is ready for rebounds. Sometimes Brazilian defenders lose their marks inside the penalty area. Brazil can also be slow to transition back into shape after losing possession, especially due to the lack of speed from some midfielders. But there are moments when wingers like Raphinha show exemplary work rate and sprint back to help defensively. Now let's move on to set pieces. One interesting free kick routine is a cross to the far post aimed at a player arriving from outside the penalty box. In defensive free kick situations, Brazil places 1 player in the wall, 1 on second balls, 7 in a line inside the box, and 1 player stays upfield for counterattacks. On corners, Brazil positions 2 players on the goal line, 3 just inside the penalty spot, and 2 players outside the box to pick up loose balls. Players near the penalty spot and 6-yard box often switch places to confuse defenders. Most deliveries target the near post. There's also a short corner variation. After a short pass, the ball is delivered to the far post. If the opponent doesn't press actively, Brazil may involve a 3rd player in the short routine before eventually crossing to the far post. When defending corners, 5 players zone mark inside the 6-yard box, 3 players mark man-to-man around the penalty spot, and 2 cover the edge of the box. If the opponent commits more players to a short corner, Brazil sends both edge-of-the-box players to disrupt it. The only goal under Ancelotti so far came after a defensive mistake by the opponent. Raphinha drew 3 players toward himself. The ball bounced to Matheus Cunha, who then squared it to Vinícius Júnior for a tap-in that officially secured Brazil's place in the World Cup. Today we broke down Carlo Ancelotti's game model with the Brazil national team. Let us know in the comments, can Brazil under Ancelotti be a serious contender at the World Cup? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more tactical football analysis.